keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? JK, I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be ranking the all seven NFL head coaching hires from this year in 2025 in this offseason, based on my opinion on the coaches, the fits, and just all combinations together. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agree or disagree with that I talked about, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content I'm going to be putting out, whether it's the Combine, NFL free agency, NFL draft, anything, stuff like that. Please make sure to subscribe so you can keep track of the channel. So today I'm going to be ranking from least being seven to number one being the best, in my opinion, the head coaching hires. Now, I'm going to be taking a lot of accountability on a combination of different things, just stuff like head coaching experience in the past, how they've done before, how I think that they will do, their recent success as either coordinators or past head coaches, and just overall the fit to the team. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing into this in my ranking. So let's go ahead and get into it. At number seven, my least favorite hire out of the coaches were the Dallas Cowboys hiring their offense coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. The thing is, I think he's going to be an all right coach. I don't think any of these guys are going to be necessarily absolutely terrible. I do think that he did have the offense, playing very well at towards the end of the year with with a lot of injuries that took place. Dak was out, so he had Cooper Rush playing. He had them competitive on offense, and they really had the ability to move the ball quite a bit with Cooper Rush being the starting quarterback. And you know, if he's able to come out, maybe they come out. I don't know if they're going to draft Genty or not at 12, so it depends on that. But it wasn't so much that they wanted to fire Mike McCarthy because there was some consistency there with Schottenheimer had a pretty good offense going, and the defense is going to need a lot more help. They brought in Eberflus, so I guess we'll see how that goes. I think Eberflus is going to be a great defense coordinator for him. But it really just depends, how it's going to be able to come out as a true leader, Was it Mike McCarthy calling the offense and running all that good stuff, or was it Schottenheimer that had the ability to be able to go out and run and have full control over the offense? And depending on how it goes with a healthy Dak, is Dak going to be the answer, or they're going to have to move on? I know Jerry Jones is very particular about letting guys go that are his guys that he drafted from the Dallas Cowboys. He kind of has the relationship that he doesn't really like letting everybody go. But just out of all the other guys, I do think there's a lot of strong candidates in this coaching cycle that went to a lot of good teams that are going to make a big difference. And I don't think Schottenheimer's going to be absolutely terrible. It's just really going to be based on the roster and how it is. And, it's not super talented. It has certain pieces like CeeDee Lamb, like Micah Parsons, but are they going to be able to stay healthy? Is he going to be able to be the leader as the head coach and be able to have that free range to run the offense how he wants to? And how's he going to be when he fully takes over away from McCarthy after being able to take over in that spot since they just didn't really want to extend him, but they didn't really want to fire him either. So they really couldn't reach an agreement. So then he kind of just got elevated and promoted in this spot. So that's my number seven. Moving on to number six, I'm actually going to go with Kellen Moore to the New Orleans Saints. In my opinion, I don't really like the fit. Kellen Moore in years past, he's been pretty good as an offensive coordinator. He did a good job in Dallas a couple years ago, and then he went to the Chargers for a year with Brandon Staley. They didn't do very good, but with the Philadelphia Eagles, he's coming off a Super Bowl. He was a Super Bowl winning coordinator. My only issue with him, can he do it with a less talented roster? The roster that he had in Dallas was very talented. It's kind of getting a little bit older now, so depending on how Schottenheimer can do after taking over after more. But once he got to Philly, he did some really good stuff with Sirianni and Philadelphia whenever he started calling plays, since Sirianni wanted to give it up. But the only issue is Philadelphia was the most talented roster in the NFL last year. So, and especially on the offensive side, they had A.J. Brown, they had Saquon, who ended up going off, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, one of the best number two receivers in the NFL, and Devontae Smith. He was able to get Jalen Hurts playing a lot better than what he was after the late season collapse last year. But I just don't know how that's going to translate over to the New Orleans Saints, who they do have Chris Olave, but they have an aging Derek Carr, they have an aging Alvin Kamara, and their offensive line was questionable last year. And being an offensive guy, their defense has a couple of young pieces on the defense. defensive side, and they have an older Tyrann Mathieu. There's a report today that they're going to end up cutting Taysom Hill, which is going to save them $10 million. They're in cap hell. They're like almost over $50 million over the cap, like they are every year, but they're able to get out of it. So I don't know how his offensive system is going to jive with the New Orleans Saints. I think that the Eagles being so talented was able to help him out. He was able to run his stuff so easily and be able to run his game plan so easily. And I just don't know how it's going to be with the Saints with a less talented roster. He could come out and Derek Carr could play very well, but I think eventually he's going to have to look for his franchise quarterback. In the first couple of years, he's going to end up having to move off Derek Carr, and it's really just going to matter with an aging roster and with the roster 50 million over the salary cap. How's he going to manage that and make that team more competitive um, than they already are? I know the division's weak, but he's going to have to make some major upgrades on that team. Moving at number five, I'm gonna have one that a lot of people ended up hating is Liam Cohen to the Jaguars. A lot of people are complaining, especially Buccaneers fans, how he's not very loyal. But look at the guy; he's definitely jumped around in the last couple of years. He hasn't been up somewhere longer than 3 years, so that's kind of the knock on him that a lot of people are having. But in my opinion, I think he's gonna be a pretty good coach. He's got his main role in going into Jacksonville is to fix Trevor Lawrence. Make sure that Trevor Lawrence is not a bust. Trevor Lawrence had a great first couple of years. He's kind of struggled last year and towards the end of the year before. So his job is to come in, fix Trevor Lawrence, make sure he plays well. And I think that he's going to do that. He was able to do that at the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield. He was able to kind of turn around Baker Mayfield last year, and he had one of his better years leading them into the playoffs. He was also, if you go back and look at it, at the University of Kentucky, he was able to do the same thing with Will Levis. He was the guy that was the OC when Will Levis was playing like a first round quarterback and had a lot of people thinking that Will Levis was going to be taken in the first round until he fell to the second. So his offense is very quarterback friendly and he does a great job of coaching up the quarterbacks. He has some great weapons in there. He has Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. They're probably going to end up having to make a tough decision there with Etienne his contract going to be coming up in a year or two and him not really producing last year. But he also has one of the best young wide receivers in the NFL in Brian Thomas. So he's got a couple weapons there. They're going to have to get a better number two wide receiver in Jacksonville for it to be better. And they're gonna have to upgrade that defense. That interior of the defensive line was one of the worst in the NFL, even though they do have great edge pressure with Trayvon Walker starting to step up and Josh Allen. And I think Liam Cohen's offensive system is going to be very well for Trevor Lawrence and help him progress and kind of get back to that format that we kind of expect of Trevor Lawrence. Because some people even want to call him a bust. I'm not going to go that far yet, but for what he was expected to be he has been a very big disappointment. I think Liam Cohen's going to be able to help him out and be able to progress him to go back to where he should be and be on the right track for the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise. Is he ever going to be one of the top? He's not going to be a Sean McVay. No one's a Sean McVay, but he's definitely going to be able to have this offense running the way that he needs to. He was basically the head coach of the offense because Todd Bowles does nothing with the offense at all. So I think it's going to be a great job. Now, is he going to be able to go and be an all-round good head coach? I don't know. That's really yet to be seen. He's going to have to get a great defense coordinator to come in and help him out. But I guess we'll have to see. But I'm a little bit higher on Liam Cohen than what people actually are. Number four, we're going with my favorite team, the New York Jets, with Aaron Glenn. A lot of people have been kind of not very happy about this hire outside of the New York Jets fan base. A lot of people think that he's more similar to Robert Saleh, but coming from a Jets fan that's looked into this and done a lot, he's very different than Robert Saleh. You can definitely see the organization has the trust in Aaron Glenn with him being a former New York Jets, having a relationship with Woody Johnson, the owner. He's able to kind of keep Woody Johnson in check. And I think the ownership and everybody's just going to follow his lead. He's a culture builder. I know that's what they thought Robert Saleh was going to be, but Robert Saleh didn't really hold his players accountable. That's the big difference here between Aaron Glenn and Robert Saleh that we're hoping to see is that Aaron Glenn will have that accountability as the head coach. Robert Saleh's teams, as when he was the head coach of the New York Jets the last couple of years, were the most penalized teams in the NFL. And the big story last offseason, what with Aaron Rodgers being fully healthy was that no one holds anyone accountable in the New York Jets building. So that was pretty much the issue that they had, was that there was no accountability. There was a whole lot of holdings and a whole lot of penalties in the NFL. Aaron Glenn's going to be the opposite of that. He's coming in to set a culture in that Jets building, and that's really what the New York Jets need. And they haven't really had a strict culture in years since Rex Ryan was pretty much let go. So it really just depends what's going to end up happening there. But I think that's really just going to be a big part of it, and I think he's going to do a very good job. He has a very strong offensive staff. He has his OC, Tanner Ekstrand from the Detroit Lions coming in. He has got a former head coach, Steve Wilks. So not only has he set the culture, but he's done a very good job of surrounding himself with supporting staff to be able to get the job done. Number three, moving on, I'm going to go with Pete Carroll. I'm not as big of a fan as this Pete Carroll hire. Everybody sees the Pete Carroll name with the Raiders, and they're gonna say he has won everywhere he's gone, and I will agree with that. He won at USC, he won at Seattle, but those last couple of years in Seattle definitely kind of fell off a little bit. He definitely kind of created a little bit of a rift with the team with how they treat Russell Wilson, and we've seen that really hasn't been successful anywhere else. So it's kind of questionable there. A lot of those players usually love Pete Carroll. But the Raiders such a weird situation. You have Tom Brady coming in, making a lot of decisions as minority owner. They don't have a quarterback, so they're gonna have to make a decision there. They don't really have any offensive weapons. The Raiders, in my opinion, are the worst NFL roster, big talent wise, in the NFL. So he has a lot to turn around in a couple of years, and he's only going to have about 3 more years left in coaching, I think, until he's going to have to pass it off to someone else because he's by far the oldest candidate on this list to get a head coaching job and actively the oldest head coach in the NFL. So it really just depends there. I'm not as high as everybody else is on it. Everybody else loves it, but I'm gonna put him at three here, in my opinion. I might have had him a little bit lower if I wasn't convinced by everybody else, but it really, it just depends how quickly he's able to turn around with his age. Number two, one of the hottest coordinator head coaching candidates on the market was Ben Johnson. He I have seen some funny comparisons to some people saying he could be the next Adam Gase, and that's kind of a concern too as well. But if he can get his system of his type of players, kind of the same thing with, you know, Aaron Glenn. If Aaron Glenn can get his Detroit type players and Ben Johnson can get that too, is Ben the real question is Ben Johnson just kind of like made up of that very talented Detroit offense, or was it his system put in place? I think the Bears have a real opportunity to go out and draft Ashton Jeanty at number 10 if they go and get some free agent offensive linemen on the interior. So it really just depends. I do think that he is going to be able to get Caleb Williams in check to not turn the ball over, kind of like he's had Jared Goff with that play action scheme. But for Ben Johnson's system to work, he's going to have to get a dominant run game going, and he's going to have to upgrade the interior offensive line. He's going to have to get Jeanty. The one thing I do like that he said that every NFL coach should do, and every coach in general, you have to adjust your system based on the players that you have. If your players do not meet that system, then you're going to have an issue and you're not going to be a winning football coach. And that's one thing that I think that, he's done well and that he's going to improve on to be able to do well in the future with the Chicago Bears. Number one, I'm going Mike Vrabel. Obviously, he was the hottest head coach in Canada on the market. Former head coach for the Tennessee Titans. He led them to the league to the number one seed in the AFC a couple years ago. He ended up having that dominant run game with Derrick Henry, having that physical mentality of holding players accountable and setting the expectations of what it is. He obviously wanted to go to New England Patriots all along. He kind of pushed for them to fire Gerard Mayo after 1 year. So I think he's going to do a very good job in New England. They have the most salary cap in the NFL. He's known for, getting the job done as a head coach in the NFL. The reason that he kind of ended up getting fired or let go or where the whole situation was is that he disagreed with the ownership and the general manager on a lot of situations. The rumor was the AJ Brown trade was that did it. So I think that he's gonna have a way better connection with Robert Kraft and a lot of the GM and all that going on for a team that he played for, and he's gonna able to get them in the right direction. They have the most cap space in the NFL. They have a top pick of the number four pick based on who they ends up falling to that position, so they could upgrade it that way. And he's gonna be able to go in and you know from Mike Vrabel's teams that they're going to be the most well-coached, disciplined teams in the NFL. He knows the rule book. He's a Belichick disciple. So that's just kind of how he is, and his teams are run, and he's going to be able to get New England Patriots to be one of the most well-coached, disciplined teams in the NFL. So these are my 7 rankings of the NFL hires that happened this offseason. Please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agreed or disagreed with. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content I'm going to be putting out, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Morant. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple.